Frumkin. Good morning. Yes, did you get our wine list? Yeah. Certainly. What can I do for you? Yes. Yes.
Frumkins, a tale of two wine shops.
No, we don't. We have pure orange juice. No, we've got them in the small returnable bottles as well.
You're driving Mr. Frumkin, you know the wine people? You know me? Frumkins? From this corner? No?
Have I been driving over you?
So you should know us by now. They all know us, everyone.
I always recall on the corner of Commercial Road and Cannon Street Road in the very heart of the East End of London, the real East End as it was then, the shop Frumkins. Frumkins was a wine shop, and Jewish people not really heavy drinkers, but they loved their wine when it came to, say, Passover time. And for the very poor people, they could buy a bottle of raisin wine made in the basement by the owner of this establishment. Well, he is now, he's 79 years of age, a man called Aaron Frumkin. And he used to make these...
Let me tell you what happened originally. My grandfather and grandmother came here in 1894. He was a rabbi, and it was a custom that the rabbi carried on with his work, and the wife had to make a living for the family. And my grandmother ran the business as a wine business, and they decided that they would sell these kosher wines so that, being well known, we had more or less an entree to the Jewish people who were living predominantly in the East End. So El Frumkin & Co., until I really got into it, was being run by women. These women had a way with the public. They could talk to women. They could talk to them about their problems, about their marital problems, about their pregnancy problems, anything you could think of, you see. My mother would talk to them about birth control, you know. And so from that point of view, we were not so much a business in the East End of London. We were absolutely in the centre. We were an institution. When people were in trouble, they knew where to come.
It's a different world, you know. There, everything was all around you. The market and all that. And Mrs. Frumkin herself, she was such a marvellous person that she used to go to the market. She wouldn't think nothing of buying me a chicken or buying somebody else a chicken and all that, you know. It was at home. She was a second mother, put it that way.
Hello, Frumkins. Yes, certainly. Would you take the case by any chance? Because it saves us...
Black and white became the most popular whiskey because the immigrants coming here, speaking a little German or Yiddish, knew Schwarz, which was black, and Weiss was white. So it was easy for them to order Schwarz and Weiss. That was black and white. Johnny Walker was way beyond them. You know, white horse wine that they were sticking.
In the Jewish religion, it's been part of our tradition to drink wine from a very, very early day. In fact, when a baby boy is circumcised on the 8th day, after the circumcision, which is of course done without an anaesthetic, the reverend always dips his finger in a glass of wine after he's said the blessing and gives the baby the taste of the wine, and that helps to anaesthetise him.
They used to number the wine, very sweet. Number 10 or number 7, they numbered the wines, like they do in a Chinese restaurant, I think, in the meal. I don't think they knew what else to ask, but you say number 7, number 10.
We've known each other for so many years, and we've never been treated strictly as employees. We're all family, in effect. They come to our weddings, we go to theirs. I think it's just grown up over the years that we've been with him for such a long time that we know him as well as his family does, and he knows us.
There was a tremendous selection of wines and spirits. And I think a lot of the hard-working tailors used to love their drop of whiskey to make them forget.
This is Commercial Road as such. As you see, it's completely changed in character. Everything is fashion in this. In the old day, it was furniture. There were 3 wine shops. We were on the corner. And just before coming to us, there was the famous Hessel Street Market, where you could buy everything you think of, from herrings in barrels. There's a lovely story about an old lady who used to sell her herrings, and she really smelt to high heaven. She had big boots on and this old neck, and she smelt like hell. The tax authorities came along to her and said, "You're not paying tax properly." So she said, "Well, I knew how to deal with them." She said, "I went dressed in my working clothes. Turn right." That's right. Yes, turn right. I went along in my working clothes with all my boots, and I walked into the office. Within 2 minutes, they said, "Would you please get out?" She said, "I smelled the place now." You know. We can get out now.
Hello, how are you?
All right.
We've been out jogging.
No.
Fun?
No, I've been to Marbella.
Oh, I see.
I've been 3 weeks.
It looks like you've been out jogging.
Well, I left my shoes on. Now, let me introduce you to the BBC.
Yes. Well, I only deal with the ITV.
I see. Okay. Well, what we'd like to do is like to look at the old shop.
Certainly.
And to look at the basement.
Certainly.
You don't mind, do you?
Not at all.
Right. So, there you are.
First of all, I'm delighted to see you, and you
Thank
look
you
well.
very much. Yeah, thank God for that. Did you see the June Chronicle a couple of weeks ago?
Yes.
You saw my picture there.
Yes. Yes.
So, I'm a personality.
Yes.
Because I was born upstairs. That's right.
So
I was born on the top floor.
So I suppose you get royalties out of it now?
No, I don't get royalties. It cost me money, I promise you. Right, if we can go down.
Hello, Mr. J, it's Phyllis. Yeah, can you come round very shortly? Because the BBC are here and they'd like to speak to a very old and valued customer. Oh, never mind the gas man.
When I was 3 or 4 years old, this was my playground. I used to play on the barrels. And then, just to annoy people going by, there's a ladder going onto the roof. And it's a flat roof there. And I used to go up with my cousin, who was born here as well, and take corks up. We were no more than 4 or 5 years old. And pelt people in the street, with these corks. That was our pleasure, you see.
All right, well, if you can do it before 1:30. Well, anyway, try. Yeah, well, let us know anyway. All right? Well, that's what
I can remember a period where Mr. Frumkin and myself, we went out delivering in a private car, and I was over in Walworth Road. He was sitting to the side of me, and he was sleeping. People looking at him sleeping, they thought he was dead. They were looking at while I was delivering. And it was like that, we done it all night and didn't notice it so much. It's a funny thing. You work overtime now, murder. we done a few hours those days, and we didn't notice it so much. It's a funny thing.
I'll see you later. Yeah, bye. We're waiting for the gas man. The man next door's incapable, isn't it?
From where they built this, we used to have the big cask holding several hundred gallons of wine storage, and they used to come all along here. And at the time we had a Yemenite man, Yosef, would go in and clean the barrels. And when he came out, he was completely and utterly drunk, just from the smell.
The funniest things that we used to have in that shop was the beggars, you see. And we used to have our threepenny beggars and our sixpenny beggars, and the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But the funniest one, what was the one that used to jump over the matchbox? He used to say, I'll not take the money for nothing, you see. So he used to put the matchbox down and go to the end of the door there and start, you see, like that, you see, and then he'd come, he'd go over the matchbox, and that was what
It's true.
he used to do it outside Bloom's. What was his name? Do you remember? Oh. And jump over the matchbox.
But he was a well-known character.
I must phone Dave. I'll phone my husband, he knows.
He used to sing outside the cinema.
Yeah.
Be in and out of the buses.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I'll phone him, he'll tell you what his name was.
This here is a wine press. See, the spiral, and you've got the side there. That's still got wine in. That's still got wine in.
It's me. You all right? Yeah. Listen, you know who used to be outside Bloom's and sing and dance? Yeah, we can't think of his name either. He'll think of his name. Dixie. Dixie, that's right. Dixie, thank you very much for your information.
Everybody knew it.
And we're reminiscing about the old East End. We all are. No, silly. Benny and me.
That's the wrong man, that is.
Don't get the wrong end of the stick again. And so have I. Quite right. Hole in it at the top. Yeah. All right? You all right otherwise? Yeah, okay then. Yeah. Bye.
Opposite our shop, there was always a stand. And believe me, it was Speaker's Corner. I saw Mrs. Pankhurst and I heard Mrs. Pankhurst speaking. I was taken by my nurse to Victoria Park. Now, in Victoria Park, the suffragettes had a rally, and the dockers came to meet them. But the dockers didn't come in a very peaceful way. They came with razors and they came with things. And I well remember the Victoria Park lake flowing with blood, women's blood. That was the greatest massacre I've ever seen. I was only a child. But nevertheless, to see women shrieking and running, I mean, it remained in my memory for all time.
Monty said to me, how long has your name been Semyour? Well, there used to be a magistrate in North London, and if you were a taxi driver, he crucified you, hung and drew you. But if you were a Jewish taxi driver, you were hung, drawn and quartered. That was it. So my husband and his two brothers got so fed up with it one night, they went in to the old cafe, the cafe where all the cab drivers used to meet, opened the telephone directory, the first name they come to, they changed it, and that was Semyour. That was how we came to be Semyour. But it was only because of the anti-Semitism.
Bottom of where we were, top, like Cannon Street Road, you've got Wapping. Well, the dockers were so proud of Wapping that any outsider was not allowed to go into Wapping. You were not allowed to step into the Wapping. I mean, one of the things, I don't talk about anti-Semitism, but one of the favourites saying, no Jews allowed down Wapping, and you couldn't step across. There was a street called St. George's Street, which is now the highway. You couldn't step across that road, and if you did, it was at the risk of your life. And that was how militant the dockers were in those days.
In the East End, we used to know everybody's business, didn't we? Yes, and everybody used to come into Frumkin. If you wanted a husband, you came to Frumkins. If you wanted a fountain pen, you came to... True, this is true. Whatever you did, you came to Frumkins. And the same atmosphere sort of prevails. People come in and say, have you got a stamp? Which is the way to Oxford Street. And in the end, you feel as though you don't sell wine at all. You're just a general information bureau. Oh, yes. And say, what does this mean? Yeah. Will you get me a taxi? What? Oh.
When it came to holiday times, they had to line up in the street to get into that shop. Now, that shop was quite a big area, and it would accommodate at least, say, 50 people.
and they were struggling to get in and out of that place. And in fact, we used to have people at the entrance of the shop shouting across, 2 bottles of this, 2 bottles of that, and they would take their money. Very often the money went in their pocket and we didn't see it, but that didn't matter. But this was an institution, it was never a shop. Now, you may say why, because when they first arrived here, and they arrived at the London docks, they were sent to Frumkins if they wanted accommodation. They wanted advice of where to live or anything like that. And of course in the 30s, with the German refugees, we had so many coming to us and asking how they could stay in this country, and asking advice how to go to the Foreign Office and all that. And we were always ready there to advise them. It wasn't purely a commercial undertaking. It became almost an office, you know, for advice. And that's what really made our name, in that sense. There's certain things that, if I were to mention today, after all this time, I may be subject to prosecution, but from my point of view, it was justifiable because I saved people from the Holocaust. And this I know. If you switch it off,
I can tell you, and this is absolutely a fact, that during 1939, and I was part of this as well, my mother used to almost live in the Home Office because there were people here who were escaping from Nazi Germany who were being sent back. And she would go there and beg for them, and I would have to help. I would work with the police. Certainly, sometimes it was a bit of a risk the way it was done, but nevertheless, many people were saved.
Right, let's go down the stairs then, and we'll take you around the cellar a bit. See, this is where we have our stores, round here. See, we keep our whiskey over there. Champagnes all around here. Wines on the shelves around here. And cases all the way up there, see? Right?
My 2 brothers-in-law were brought into the business. One has since died, but the other one... and I could not get on with them, but I also realized that I had to move because I got married the second time, and unfortunately my second wife died. But she was working in the West End of London, and I would take her from Finchley to the West End every day, and then going down from the West End to the East End, a double journey. So she was a very wise person, and she said to me, "Look, Aaron, don't you think it would be clever if you bought a shop in the West End, near where I'm working? You've got 2 brothers-in-law in the East End, and you're really not needed there. Come to the West End and start a shop."
Right, here we're going to have sparkling wines, over here, right, up there. We've got our kosher American wines over here. You seen our American kosher wines?
No, I haven't seen that.
There you are. These are the Californian.
You do carry California wine.
When you look around this old shop with its thousands of miniature bottles of liqueurs and wines, it's bottles of wines from every part of the world. It's not like a supermarket with all its chromium and shine. It's still an old-fashioned shop with its wooden shelves, and it's got this friendly atmosphere of Mr. Aaron's, who's 79, his daughter. One chap who works here has been here 55 years, worked from the East End. The other lady here, Phyllis, has been here 30-odd years. It's still a little family group. Very nice to see that they're continuing in the old ways and the old days. And it was pleasant for me to come in here and meet them.
Oh, you're not kidding. Never heard the screaming matches in here? Oh, yes, when Ben has a go at Mr. Frumkin, he'll throw the van keys at him and walk out, or I'll sort of stalk out and go to Mark's for an hour or something. Oh, yes, all families have rows, don't they? That doesn't mean to say they've got to be sworn enemies forevermore.
Because down here, this place used to belong to a butcher's, right? Well, that's why down here, if you keep wine down here, you don't need a fridge. Yeah, it's so cold.
What would the temperature be down here?
Temperature would be what? Oh. 40, 30, 34, yes, yes. Because down here, if anybody comes in for cold wine, I come down here and give it to them. They say, oh, yes, that's cold. They think we got a fridge down here.
Now, the character of the West End shop has changed during the past 5 years. We are now known as the specialists of champagne in that particular area. Because if you look at my window, all it contains is dummy bottles of champagne from every size, from quarter going up to the Nebuchadnezzar and the Salmanazar. You know, all different sizes, right the way through. And it shows you how chance can be very helpful at times. And what happened was that while I was living in this flat, I got a phone call from the police to tell me that my window had been broken and 2 or 3 bottles had been stolen out of the window. So I went down to the shop and I phoned my son, and we sat there all night till the window was put in. I redressed the window. And the following night, I got another phone call. And this phone call again was, the window had been broken, Mr. Frumkin. Will you come down? The police again. I went down again, exactly the same thing. A few bottles had been stolen. Now, at that time, I used to put every variety of spirits, wines, and anything you could think of in that window. I then decided I will put in there dummy bottles only. Now, the most interesting dummy bottles are champagne bottles because of the various sizes. So I filled the whole window up with champagne dummies. And since then, I haven't looked back on that score. We sell at least 10 times as many champagne as we did previous to our window being broken. I'd like to find the man who broke the window and give him a vote of thanks.
Yes, we keep all our champagnes. Mum's got Clicquot. Nearly all the champagnes that really is worth keeping, we keep. And we do quite well with them. Yep.
I can see that they like a small wine merchant for the simple reason I think that the buyer, the average buyer, feels very much more at home. He can come into a shop and ask for advice quite freely and know that whoever's there will give him honest advice and this and that. Not a question of somebody standing in a very big shop and it's their job just to sell that article. They will get good advice, not only in that sense, but they will get very much better attention. My daughter, for instance, who helps me out, she happens to be a physiotherapist. Now, if somebody comes in and says such and such a thing, there's something wrong and all that, just casually she will advise her. If she thinks that, or she knows they're pregnant, she will talk to her about prenatal and postnatal treatments and all that kind. She will converse with them. She becomes a friend of theirs. This is a small business. If it will survive, I don't know. I think that we need more of them, but I'm afraid that pressure, and particularly high rents, are killing these small businesses. They have to get out.
No customer is ever intimidated. They just come in, and I mean, at Christmas you get anybody sitting there and having a cup of tea or whatever. You're welcome to come in and sit down and talk. Or this is the confessional. We haven't got a curtain, but it's still the confessional.
I come here because I'm so used to them, and they're so lovely, these people. They really are. And of course I've known Mr. Frumkin for, must be 40 years, easy. Yes. And he's always the same. He never looks any different to me anyway. And sometimes I get a bottle of scotch. In case I get a cold and need a hot toddy.
We call her Bella. She comes in, she's as thin as a rake, and she takes 12 cans of Guinness a day. She comes to me because I give her threepence a can, you see, for her bulk purchase. And I bought some books, and I gave her one for her grandchildren, and she was absolutely thrilled. It was Bible stories, you see. But she's a pillar of the Catholic Church around the corner.
You see these here? These.
You used to collect the beards as well?
Yes.
How many dozen beers did they use at weddings in those days?
Oh.
Hello, Frumkin.
Well, we weren't allowed at that time
Yes.
to serve. You couldn't get a beer glasses at one time.
Of course we enjoy it. If you're the type that wants to sit behind a desk and bang a typewriter, well, then you don't work here, do you? We always say you have to be mad to work here because it's a funny kind of madness, but that's why we've all worked here for so long. I mean, Ben's been here 55 years.
I've worked here 55 years.
And I've been reading his story of where, you know, from the East End. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's actually got photographs of them outside their shops, haven't they? His mother, yes, his mother with him in his arms. Can you imagine him, a baby in arms? What's there? That went up a bit, didn't it, or something? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
10.25 together.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Really, I should retire. But what would I do if I retire? So here, I'm more or less at home. I carry on.
The children all drive. You know, I always thought that was socially, these days, as important as dancing was in mine, so they all learn to drive. Hello, Frumkin, good afternoon. Yes. Yes. Not at all, our very great pleasure. Yes. Yes. He has been to Israel, I know that, and I don't think he's kept the house. But I think in Jerusalem there is a Frumkin Street. Yes. I'll check it for you if you like. Yeah, can you hang on? Right, hold on a moment. It's Monty Modlyn.
In Frumkins, A Tale of Two Wine Shops, you heard Aaron Frumkin, June Gordon, Bella Jenkins, Monty Modlyn, Ben Nathan, David Peterson, Phyllis Semyour, and friends. The programme was recorded by Doug Taylorson and Liz Rorison, and technical presentation was by Peter Harwood and Mike Etherden. Frumkins was researched and compiled by Adrian Quine and produced by Piers Plowright.
Hello? Hello. No, they haven't retained the house in Petah Tikva, and there's a Frumkin Street in Petah Tikva and one in Jerusalem. Well, he told you that he was a pioneer. Yes. No, that's Lionel. It's Frumkin's son. Oh, he's in property. Oh, that's nice of you. Not at all. Great pleasure. Bye. That's that.